Hello, everybody. My name is Brian. As Chelsea mentioned, I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Relevance AI, and it's just really great to be here with all of you. Um, I know that we had a lot of community events before, and a lot of it is a lot of excitement on like what we can build with Relevance AI, right? With like different agents, different use cases. But what I saw that was missing was kind of like the micro piece on how to actually drive this stuff forward in terms of building tools. So today, I just kind of wanted to talk you through a very practical use case that I've built. And the agent has already done some kind of work for us, but now how do we take it to like the last 10, 15%, right? So in this case, I have a an agent here. If you can see my screen, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, we can see. Yeah. No problem.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. So
Walmart lead Daniel like
great, awesome. So essentially here, Brian, the BDR agent, takes in information from Salesforce, and then it does, Google search for a prospect's LinkedIn. It also does a LinkedIn search for the prospect information. It scrapes, summarizes on Google for company information. Same thing with LinkedIn information. It also goes to the customer's website. Now, it will produce a research report, and here's the meat of it all, right? We want the agent to create us email writing instructions. Email an email sequence following our email writing instructions. So essentially, what's happening here is we want to make an outbound email sequence to contact somebody that would be a really good fit for our company, right? So in this case, the agent has context as to who it works for. It works for Relevance AI. Um, and here we go. Once I clicked a field, a very specific field in Salesforce. It triggered the agent and it sent the agent this information, right? So you can see at the top, it sent a new lead. It gives the lead ID from Salesforce. It gives the name. It gives the title, and then it gives the company. And if we dive into the steps performed in the background, what happened here was I searched for Google, right? So now it's searching for Daniel Danker. Here's the query, and here's what it found on Google. It also cited the sources as well. Next, it looked in LinkedIn to see his experiences, all the things that that's relevant to this LinkedIn account. So now the agent has context into his personal information on LinkedIn. The next step, it uses inputs from the agent is recent AI initiatives at Walmart, right? So AI initiatives in 2025. So you can see here that it's returned a few pieces of news, um, relatively recent. And then we're going to extract information from website to see, if you can find anything. Obviously, it found a wide range of products, so this is probably not useful, but the agent has the information anyway. So following this, what did the agent do? There's a research report about Walmart here. There's a section here about the AI initiatives. There's also a potential alignment with Relevance AI. So essentially, what are some selling points that we can use with Daniel's role to sell in Relevance AI? And obviously here, the agent has produced a 5 email sequence based on the research that it found, right? So let's just read through the first one just to see how great the emails are so far. Hi, Daniel. Your recent appointment to lead Walmart's AI transformation caught my attention. Congratulations on the new role. So obviously, the agent was able to find that Daniel here just started working for Walmart in this new role. It also there's also a bullet list of what Relevance AI can help with. There's also a call to action here, right? So would you be open to a brief conversation? And it signs off, that's Brian. So now, let's just say we want to do this at scale, right? How does, in as it sits right now, what I would have to do is essentially go into the Google, copy and paste the subject line, copy and paste the body, and then send this to Daniel. And I'd have to do it one by one. It's a very manual use case, right? What our company, a lot of our clients have leveraged are, you know, platforms like Outreach.io. So then what we can do here is have the agent just load up these email sequences into Outreach, and then have Outreach email the prospect directly. So this is what I'm talking about here, right? The agent did most of the work. We just need that last 10% in order to attach the emails to the prospect. So this is the bulk of what the session is going to be about. I'm just going to walk you through on how to build this tool, essentially from scratch. Are there any questions or anything so far?
Nope, no questions. Yeah,
Awesome,
all good, all
awesome.
good. We're in safe hands. Yeah, the last mile always matters, right? Even if it's 99%, whether an agent's doing it or something, if you don't get a 100%, you got no work done. So appreciate
Yep,
you taking us through the last mile.
awesome. So I'm just going to add a new tool here, and I'm just going to build from scratch. And we can call this tool Outreach, add email, add email sequence. So what's important in a tool itself, you have a list of inputs that you can, you know, that that are needed in order to add variables and things like that to the tool. So right now, the most obvious thing that I found is that we have the email sequence itself, right? So the important part here is we want to load up this tool with the email sequence that the agent has already come up with. Um, so let me do that here. Um, Sequence to add into Outreach. And so we can type the email sequence here, but just for the sake of testing this tool, give me 1 second here. Let me duplicate this and go back to the Run tab. So just for testing, we can just copy and paste the entire email sequence as we see, and this could be an input to the tool itself, right? So there, I have email 1 all the way to email 5. And so I'm going to save this as default just so that we're able to test. And then from down here at the very bottom, what you see is this, you have the ability to name this input. So what this does is whenever you do any further steps down here, you can just make a reference to this variable so that the agent will have context into what it needs to look at. So we could just do sequence as the variable name. All right. Um, what else do we need, right? So what I like to do is kind of look at the information that's already available. So just from a really high level, we have the sequence email, but we don't yet have the Daniel's email address here, for example, right? It's stored in Salesforce, but we don't have it. And also, we're going to need to add this into Outreach, right? So we don't have a way to access Outreach yet either. So those are kind of the two things that we're missing so far. So let's go back to our tool. We should add more inputs here. In order to access Salesforce, what you need to do is have authentication into the Salesforce account. So we can add that as an input or a variable here, right? So Salesforce credentials, credential, and then it's very important to also add a description. Anytime you see one, the agent actually uses this as context. So when it's running through any of its actions, it knows which inputs belong to where. So here we can say credentials to access Salesforce. And from here, I logged into the Salesforce already through our integrations page. So I just have to kind of select it from the list. And then I'll set this as default as well. And I also said that we need access to outreach. So we are going to need authentication to outreach as well. I added the auth outreach credentials. And then from here, I can select outreach. Give me 1 second. Oh, here we go. There we go. I can rename these as well. Cool. Awesome. So now we have these two. And as we were saying before, we're going to need, we don't have this person's email address. So we're going to need it from Salesforce, right? Um, But what we do have here is the kind of the lead ID. So from the lead ID, we can possibly make an API call in order to find information that we need from Salesforce. So we're going to add that as the input as well, right? So we can put text here. This one would be Salesforce lead ID, the lead. Okay. Um, Here in this menu, I just kind of want to draw attention to this little menu here. If we want to set something where we have to manually enter something in, we would select this option. But otherwise, if that option is not selected, the agent will automatically fill out this field, right? So, when we run the agent has the Salesforce ID. So now if we add this tool into the prompt, the agent will know to fill that input with the correct ID here. But for testing purposes, I'm just gonna um, enter the ID directly into the tool itself. Oh no, give me 1 second. Oh, cool. Let's get to, give me 1 second. Let me just delete some of these. Awesome. So now that we have the auth accounts that we need, and let me re-add them back in here. Sorry about that. And we will add one more from outreach. So it's default. All right, cool. Um, so here, now that we have all these inputs, we could potentially add more as we go along, but now that we have all these inputs here, what we can do is now add the step, right? So our first kind of our first mission is to get this leads kind of email address, which we don't have. So we can add what's called a tool step here. And one of our data sources is obviously Salesforce, right? So we can look for the Salesforce contact based on their ID and see if we can grab the email address out of it. Now, this is a tip that I like to share, because now that we have these uh, credentials here saved up top, if we were to add multiple tool steps with Salesforce, we can just create one kind of variable to reference the auth ID, right? So now if let's just say I add another tool step for Salesforce. Give me 1 second. What's happening here is like now I have to select one of these accounts. But if I just make a reference to that variable up top, curly braces, OAuth ID, it will automatically know to use my Salesforce account that I've already set up at the top. Let me go ahead and delete this. So here is, so this is the Salesforce API call. Let me go ahead and pull up chat here. This is kind of what I do when I don't necessarily know exactly the API call that I need to make for Salesforce. I can just go ahead and ask directly here in the chat. So what I have a lead ID in Salesforce. How do I get the email address? So I'm in chat.relevanceai.com. It's just like a really good interface where it's similar to ChatGPT. But as you can see, I'm getting my answers here, right? So this is the kind of the endpoint that I need to use for Salesforce in order to get the email field, as it's saying here. So I'm going to go ahead. So notice how it says get here, and I'm going to copy this endpoint, right? So let's go back to the tool. The method was get, as it said. And if we take a look here, it says this is the relative path. So obviously, we need to add the lead ID here. Now, to make this dynamic, what we can do is we have the Salesforce lead here that we filled up at the top. So anytime the agent inputs a new Salesforce lead, essentially it's going to be filled out here in this relative path. And if we were to just run this, what you can do is you see all the information from this lead here, right? And then that's the email that we want straight from this API call. But we have a whole bunch of extra fields that we want here. How do we kind of extract exactly what we need, which is the email? This is pretty long, so let's just close it. Let's just add another step in here to say something like with an LLM step. Essentially, what we want to say, so the output of this tool is called a Salesforce API call, right? And the neat thing about this is when we chain tools together, I can reference what's outputted up here in this next step here. So with this LLM step, I want to say let extract the email address for the lead from, I'll do curly brackets here. So this is the Salesforce API call, and then I have this whole entire response body. So let's just try to run this. Cool. Now it gives me the lead email address, but I just want the email address, right? I don't want anything else. So I'm going to reprompt the agent to say, just output. I'm just going to prompt the LLM step to say, just output the email address and nothing else. Cool. So now we have exactly that. We have the email address. So just to recap, we filled out our inputs. The inputs gave us the emails and the authentication credentials, and also the Salesforce lead ID. We used the Salesforce lead ID to search Salesforce, and it gave us all this information, first name, last name, all the stuff, but we just wanted the email address. Then we kind of went into we added an LLM step. We made a reference to this API call just to pull out the email address and nothing else. So now we have the email address. Any questions or anything so far?
Question from the start, because we were going through the LinkedIn flow. Is LinkedIn search available on any account, or do you have to be on a pro or an enterprise account?
I believe that you have to be on a Teams account, but I have to check in on that one. But yes.
Nice. And David just asked a question in chat, but I answered it. Does relevance? I just love your ninja move, Brian. You just went straight into chat. Just like,
Yeah.
whoa, I'm just going to showcase chat. And David noticed, and his question was, does Relevance Chat have specific relevance knowledge, or is it just pulling for the web? And I just told him that it connects to any LLM, so you can just use it like ChatGPT or any LLM that you're using. However, how it's different is it connects to two kinds of agents. The out-of-the-box relevance agents that we're building and deploying, they're in beta right now, and it will connect to your personal custom agents. So that's kind of how it's different. It looks very familiar, and it looks very familiar in chat interface by reason. We want people to use it and to feel comfortable. So it really is about the consumption of agents, or just the consumption of general knowledge and how you would naturally use, I'm assuming you use, any kind of GPT interface. So I took that one for the team, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you going to
Awesome.
rename this? We've got this LLM step. Are we going to rename this variable? What are we doing now?
Yeah, we're going to rename this variable to email, prospect
Nice.
email address.
Sweet. David's typing. I don't know if he's got a follow up, but I'll interrupt you if he does. All good.
Awesome.
Keep going.
Awesome. So essentially what we have to do now is kind of associate this email address with a prospect in outreach. And in order to do that, once we do that, we can write the emails and attach it to the custom fields of that person in outreach, right? I know it's kind of a little confusing, but essentially it'll all become clear in just a second here. So we're going to do an outreach API call. Once again, we're going to do a variable here. And then this one was OAuth 1. I'm going to go back to chat, right? How do I find a prospect ID in outreach.io using an email address via API? Cool. Essentially, this is what we want here. It's going to be a get request again, and this is the endpoint that we have. We don't need this part because we added that in as our login info. So let's go ahead and copy this directly to our agent. I'm going to save the tool in case I lose it. And then this is always a helpful tip here. You see this endpoint. When you see this I, it tells you exactly how to format the endpoint. So if we look at, we do this, right? It gives us a request. It also gives us the API address, which we don't need. It says it starts at /prospects. So essentially we can just get rid of everything in the beginning. And then here we go. And once again, we have prospect at example.com. This is something we need to fill in. And in order to do this dynamically, once again, we do double curly brackets. And this variable up here was called prospect email address. So let's take a look. This was it, prospect email address dot answer. We also have to add the method that we want. Let's click run and see what happens here. There's an error. Okay, give me 1 second. It might have lied to me here. Um, Let me take a look at some. It's not. It's not email. It's actually search. Um, Here, cool. So there's nothing with this. It's nothing with this email so far. Let's try to search for. Um, let's use the prospect. Oh, here we go. Let's do that again. Here we go. So now we have a prospect that it found in outreach, and the ID is 138. Um, so now the next thing we need to do is say, I have a um, sequence of 5 emails. I want to attach them to a prospect in outreach through custom fields. How do I do this via API? Cool. So it's telling me here that I can store my sequence of emails in custom fields, um, and it would look something like this, right? So essentially, um, I need this to be a patch request. This is the endpoint that I need. I need the prospect ID as well, and then from there, I need to attach the emails like so. So before I do that, let me copy this and go back to the tool. Um, I can do an LLM step. I'm going to rename this prospect ID. Hmm, Outreach prospect ID. Um, so I'm going to use the LLM step again, using the email sequence. Let's see. Um, Separate them into the JSON format below. So here, according to the documentation, I have to create something that looks like this, and it'll separate the email content here. So I'm just prompting the LLM step to do the same for me. So we do custom one, that will be email body one, for example. I'm sorry, email subject one. Um, Here it'll be cool. Subject two, subject three. 6. Cool. So yeah, so I'm splitting this. Go
Change
ahead.
custom 20.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Good catch. So I'm splitting up the email sequence into this kind of JSON body, essentially, so that I can write this to outreach, right, based on the prospect. And then the prospect ID here, I want to use from above. So I'm going to change this to that variable that we just looked for. Here we go. So let's run this. We're going to probably be running into some issues because we have to extract the ID directly from this. Cool. Um, it says 138. Let's delete this. Let's see if we can get it to do better. Okay. It's kind of so sometimes it takes you quite literally, and I'll just do it in the brackets. We can either try to remove the brackets or we could even prompt it. Okay, let's try some more. A lot of the times we uh we just keep having to tweak it a little bit and then we'll get what we want. Great. Okay, so we upgraded the model. So some models are better than others. So once we upgraded the model, as you can see here, it did exactly what we asked it to do. So yep, let's the next step is to convert this into a JSON object. Convert. Here we go. And then we're just going to get this. We're going to call this JSON. And then let's try to run this. So essentially, yeah, essentially it converts the text from the LLM step into something that's readable and passable to outreach, right? So here, that's running. Let's see if this works. Cool. So the output is exactly what we wanted here. Now, lastly, what we'll have to do is use this to write to the prospect so that we can see it in outreach. So let's go here. This is what it's asking for. That's a patch request. This is the endpoint. And this is kind of the body that you have to fill it with. So let's go ahead and do that. Once again, we have another outreach step. We'll do this. Again, we'll check this to see that it's just the prospects that we need. And we have the patch request. And here we looked for the prospect ID. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we have the outreach API call. We need the ID here. So it's outreach prospect ID is the variable. We'll go here. Here we go. And then here is it's expecting the body that we just built here in what's called to.json. So what we can do here is click on that, go to the variable, and add data. So once we run this step, here we go. Okay. It says there's an error because it said 138. I think that it's coming from resource not found. Could not find prospects with ID 138. Okay. Let's do this. Sometimes it'll parse it wrong, which is why you're getting, you know, when we're making a reference to that variable, it's wrapping it around some square brackets. So in order to fix that, we can just, here, let me just do this. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to type in, I'm going to copy and paste exactly what the output was. And now I'm going to say, I just want the ID. How do I extract it via Python? So I'm just going to copy and paste this into the Python tool here. One more time. And let's see if this works. I'm just trying to extract the ID from the response, right? So we got 138 here. we can just call this ID. And in here, we should be able to just make a reference to ID. Let me see here. Cool. Let's see. It's nested within data hash. It needs to be like this. Oh, I see the issue there. Convert this JSON. Here we go. Okay, let's try to run this again. Cool. It's there. Let's try to run this step. So now it's converting the email sequence and it's taking the ID and it's adding it into this JSON body. So it converted that JSON body into this. Now it's extracting the ID so that it can create the correct API call to outreach. And it's also going to attach. So hopefully this is the step. Data hash. Let me just try doing this. Any questions so far? I just gotta debug this.
I love it. I don't know what's the name of that category of like more long form. I'm thinking vlogs where it's just sounds, or like, or when you watch short form videos and it's just like no one talks. It's just like coffee machines and you typing. That's kind of content is not for everyone. I find this as someone that's not building agents, but I've been in tool building a
Hmm.
little while. I find this extremely not relaxing, but like it's content for my soul, like following you along, watching in real time, how you go to chat, how you're debugging. This is real. This is an anti like hype Instagram video that's all like wham wham clickbait. This is the opposite end of that. And I find this so valuable as someone that wants to be in the weeds. We've had a few white noise vibes. Yes, yes, this is what it is, because again, I'm here for the clickbait of other videos that are all wow wow ROI, but this is the reality. We had a question from Rilzen AI that was like, oh, this is a little complex, and I in the chat I sort of said there's no, we make no apologies for this. The angle of this session was to see what it's really like for someone like Brian that's building something from scratch. And
Hmm.
many of you may not need to build from scratch, but the principles of tool building, educating, understanding what a day in the life of Brian looks like as someone that's building things custom for enterprise customers, and showing you the principles and just how you debug, how you use chat and structure the output, I think is really invaluable. So yeah, thank you, Brian, for sharing and just sitting there in the silence. Yasmin and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a little awkward, but this is great. Thank you
No, 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 no.
for
Like,
watching and
please,
attending.
you might be awkward, but like, we appreciate your vulnerability. He did have a question, or Rilzen had a question about, are there then someone like you, i.e., relevance developers that they could hire, and totally, our support team is a good contact to just send them a note. We've got a growing partner network, and Scott in the Relevance AI team heads up that, and we've got partners all around the world. We can sort of matchmake and facilitate some connections if you want to outsource some of the relevance building and whatnot. So I hope this hasn't put you off, but we really think from more of an education perspective, first principles, just watching Brian do, because this is where most people stumble. This is where the power of what you can do gets unleashed. So yeah, oh no, and they've just said really helpful to see. Sounds good. No other questions, but I can see David just had to jump off. Yasmin, if you've got any questions, happy to help, or George or Pat. If you've got any questions, just type them in. Otherwise, we'll say sayonara in a few moments. This is recorded. It will be uploaded in the next approximately 24 hours, day or so. We'll process it, upload it on YouTube so it's there. If white noise vibes are your thing, I just had the idea as I was watching it. I'm like, oh, this is really, really interesting. Maybe we could do more day in the life of Brian building specific tools and just screen watching. Yasmin said, I find this good insight into troubleshooting. Yeah, for individual ones.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Additional trainings when linking to a workforce. I'm sure we could. I mean, that's just a great idea. Do you have any final sort of tips or tricks, Brian, for anyone on the call?
Yeah, I think yeah, I got it to work here. I think ChatGPT or our chat is your best friend. You could always get creative in the questions that you ask, as long as you have like a clear kind of outcome that you want. You can chain things together in order to achieve it. I like to just think as tools as inputs and then focus on the outputs, and then we'll build the steps in between. But thank you everyone for attending.
Yeah, we've got a question if about a specific tool that doesn't work, I've just put raise with our support team, their KPI, to help like look into it
Hmm.
and to help you. So that's always going to be your first port of call if you've troubleshooted and you guys can't seem to don't suffer in silence. Raise a ticket with our team. They're there to help. Or post it on community,
Yes,
crowdsource.
I was about to say that as well. A lot of our staff here are really active in the community as well.
Totally. Do both, then do both. Raise a ticket, raise it on community, and see who wins, i.e. where you get the fastest advice. They didn't answer. Okay, post it on community. That's strange. The team are KPI'd to close tickets and whatnot. So totally follow that up, or I'll nudge the team to follow you up. Can we clone this? Yasmin, do you mean can we clone Brian's example today to reverse engineer your process?
Absolutely.
Yeah, how
Let
do you want to
me.
make that happen? What would be the easiest way to, do you want to clone it and then share it within the chat?
Yep. Let me do that here.
I love it. Yasmin, thinking like a pro. Hey, Pat. Pat got in pretty late, but he's been watching. He's appreciating the white noise vibes too. You're welcome. George wants any guidance on building tools versus agents. Do you have actually like a thought on that, Brian? I know we're like short of time, but like building a tool, do you have a hot tip there?
Yeah. Generally speaking, if you need an agent to be triggered and do multiple kind of actions, right? That's where agents can leverage multiple tools to do the outcome that you want. Whereas if you just wanted the ability to like run through this automation, this is um, and just at will, tools are your best bet.
Nice. I think I'm going to call it there. Brian, thank you so much for your time, for just building from scratch, being brave enough to do that. Like there was nothing else but the platform and chat to search away. We appreciate everything you do for our enterprise customers and the community too. From time to time, you'll see him answer questions on the community, or publish things on Marketplace, or if I request more white noise, tutorials, if there's popular demand, we'll have him back in the driver's seat. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, guys.
Over the next few weeks, we've got a few more live sessions, designing design agents with Faria. We've got, I'm pretty sure, something around RevOps and some powerful workforces in the go-to-market space with Wei Li. And there's something else that I'm forgetting. So I think it's over the next 3 consecutive times. Just watch the events link in community. Have a lovely afternoon, morning, or evening. Thanks again, Brian, and see you all next time. Ciao.